Hello and welcome in to the Take the North podcast, along with Dan Wiederer of The Athletic. I am Mark Grote of 670 The Score. The Bears lose to the Packers 28-21 at Lambeau Field, meaning the Green Bay Packers move into first place. It's a leapfrog situation. The Bears are now in second place. The Bears record reads 9-4 after the loss. The Packers 9-3-1, and you should know that they will quickly meet again. The Bears rematch with the Pack at Soldier Field in 2 weeks. That's a Saturday night game, so we'll do it all again. And one can only suspect that a lot will be on the line at this point. This loss ends on a Caleb Williams interception throw, which was picked off by Keyshawn Nixon in the end zone. Much to talk about that, and a lot to get into on this Bears 28-21 loss to the Packers as we go to Lambeau Field. That is where Dan Wiederer has been all day and where he is presenting his side of the podcast today. Dan, your first thoughts about this Bears loss to the Packers 28-21.
Yeah, there's a lot inside this one, Grote, and I think I start a little bit big picture with the idea that the Bears a week ago had captured everyone's attention, not only with that convincing victory in Philadelphia, but with ownership of the NFC's number one seed. Well, this loss today drops them down to the number 7 seed in the conference. And so it's a quick, sobering reminder of just how these dynamics are set up here for the final month of the regular season and how quickly you can go from first to seventh. And so the Bears have to be aware of that. They are aware of that. I think there was a ton of disappointment and sting in the post-game locker room here for obvious reasons. We'll get into the final play in a little bit here, but I also think there's a lot of reasons to be encouraged here. And I think the first one for me is the in-game offensive awakening to have such a horrible first half and then really come to life in the second half, turn this into a meaningful football game on a big stage. I think the Bears proved to a lot of people, again, compounding on what we learned in Philadelphia, that they can hang with anybody in this conference right now. And so now it's just a matter of who makes the biggest play at the biggest time. Bears didn't do it today. Green Bay did. And so now you just got to get back on the horse and ride again. And like you said, you're 13 days away from facing this same team again at Soldier Field.
Yeah, and I think to your point about doing things again and continuing to look like a team that is headed in the right direction and is a good team. I am not backing off of that because they just lost. The Bears sold me last week. This is a good team. Bears had another 17-play monster drive. 17-play, 83-yard drive, which tied the game at 21 in the third quarter, ending with the Colston Loveland touchdown. That continues
in the fourth
to
quarter,
be
yeah.
In the fourth quarter. Yes, fourth quarter.
Well, it started in the third and went into the fourth. It lasted so long it almost took up both quarters.
Exactly. That's why in my notes I have third quarter, but the actual touchdown was in the fourth quarter. It's like it's the 85 Bears, but they actually won the Super Bowl in the year of 1986. But there were all sorts of great things again on that drive, Dan. I counted myself. So these are unofficial Mark Grote statistics here. And I guess I could have confirmed it with the real statisticians. But on that drive, 10 rushing plays. They had 6 of those rushing plays were 5 yards or more. You also had Kyle Monungai going back-to-back 9-yard carries, including a third down situation. And then that sweet little whatever it was underhand pass to DeAndre Swift occurred on that particular drive as well. So I just go through the detail of that to say, yes, there were some things. It sucked, and we'll get in. Like you said, there's a lot to talk about with the final play and with Caleb Williams and with the explosive plays that were given up against the Bears defense today. But there are things that we know have been real all year long, and they continue to legitimize, especially the running game and what they did on that long drive for the Bears.
I was naming that underhanded pass to DeAndre Swift Jenny Finch. That was my play name. My
Oh,
own play name for that little softball underhand flip there.
Our Chicago
Caleb.
Girl. That's right.
And listen, the Bears almost ended that drive with a big guy touchdown. Ben Johnson dialed up a pass play for Theo Benedict. Theo Benedict ends up getting chipped and basically chopped as he goes out into his route and never gets out there. And Caleb quickly flips to the other side, and Colston Loveland's all alone on the right side of the field. And you take the 1-yard touchdown any way you can get it. And all of a sudden, like you said, it's 21-21. And at halftime, you didn't think the Bears were going to be in a game that was 21-21 because they couldn't get their offense going. The Packers were controlling the football game. And I was really impressed with the offense's ability to find itself inside of a game. That's a big deal for a team like this against a defense like this. The Bears are the first team this season to reach 20 points against the Green Bay Packers here at Lambeau Field. I believe they're the first team to reach 300 yards of offense against the Green Bay Packers here at Lambeau Field also. And so this is a reminder that this Bears offense is good, right? Like, and it's got things to work on, and there's a lot of areas to sort of iron out, but they're capable of hanging in a game like this against a defense like this. And that's encouraging. Now there's a lot of, there's rough spots in this game for sure. But I think once again, we confirm the sort of competitive tenacity of this team and their ability to give themselves a chance to win games at the end. More often than not, they've won games in the end. Today, obviously, they didn't with the final play interception. Caleb DeCole intercepted by Keyshawn Nixon.
Yeah, and it ended in miserable fashion. So let's go to that final play.
Yeah.
Fourth quarter, less than 30 seconds left. The play is a fake to Swift. Caleb rolls left, bootleg left, with two defenders hunting him, bearing down on him. Kmet pops open in the end zone, and the throw, at least from what I've seen from my television view and watching it 100 times, like I think everybody in Chicago has, it seemed to be a short throw, underthrown by Caleb Williams. The ball gets picked off by Nixon. That is Keyshawn Nixon. And the game ends up being over. But the part of this, Dan, and I can't wait to get to hear your thoughts on this because you were actually in the locker room talking to the players. There were other options, and I guess the really key part that I left out, if people didn't see it, unless I did say it, it was a 4th and 1. They needed 1 yard for a first down, so there are myriad options that could have worked. Caleb goes for all the marbles, but DJ Moore appeared to be open. I think DeAndre Swift was the primary target. I probably wasn't. He's the first read on that particular play, and he possibly could have run it. But Dan, what was your vantage point of it? What was going on in the press box, and what were they saying in the locker room about that play?
Listen, you always remember, as John Fox reminded us, that the view of a play like that is different from the hot dog laden press box than it is from the quarterback's face mask, right? Like, Caleb's got a lot to process here.
Yes,
so understand that first and foremost. But from the press box, Grote, there was a crystal clear view of Cole Kmet breaking free, right, and slipping behind the entire defense. The Packers are bringing everybody up right now. It's a little bit of a blitz concept. It feels like in that situation, it's 4th and 1, and Cole gets free, and he's got 4 yards of separation, and Caleb doesn't see it on time. And this is a fast-moving game with fast-moving athletes. And it's when you say not on time, you're talking about now it's open, now it's not. Right now it's open, now it's not. And that's what it was. He didn't see it on time. Obviously, the first read is to Swift in the flat. They've got a bunch of defenders over there. Caleb's got the option of running it, which he did several times in this game for first downs. He didn't like the heat that was coming from behind him, particularly from Kingsley Enagbare. And so by the time he gets to Cole Kmet, the gap has closed a little bit. And he said at that point, he just tried to give Cole a ball that he could go and make a play on. They obviously weren't in sync on that. I joked with a couple of the other writers up here, if this had been Nick Foles, he would have thrown it to the P. He would have just seen it, thrown it to the P. Cole Kmet would have ran to the P, caught it. It would have been a heroic moment. It wasn't. It was intercepted. It was underthrown. It was late, whatever you want to call it. I see within the 3-word reviews and some other social media reactions that people are really pointing the blame in a lot of different direction on that final play. But it's just a missed opportunity. And it's one that I imagine Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams, when they do their film watch together, we'll talk through, and they'll try to figure out, how do we get the ball there quicker? Is there better decisions to be made on the play? If you're going to make that decision, how do you make it a split second sooner so that you have a touchdown instead of a game-sealing interception?
Yeah, and just kind of summing up what some of the players were saying about it, and Ben Johnson, like Kmet, like in paraphrasing, well, he did literally say, he said he kind of popped on the corner as he said he popped open. So that was this nice way of saying, and he didn't like expand on it, saying he was open. He was as you just described. Caleb said he tried to, as you said, tried to give Cole a big boy ball. But he did admit, he said, I got to give him a better shot. at the ball. He repeated that. He said that a couple of times. You were loud and clear in the press conferences again, Dan. Great job down there, my friend.
No, it was good. I mean, we knew Ben was going to be talking quickly. I actually appreciated how engaged Ben was today, because losses like this can sting, and you can get an agitated coach who doesn't really want to answer the questions, and then you have to really get to the meat of everything on Monday. But I thought Ben was really good on a lot of topics post game today. Same with Caleb, and so we were able to unpack that play. Again, that's the punctuation on the loss. It was also started with an offensive performance that was just abysmal in the first half, right? The Bears go to halftime with 23 net passing yards. They had been outgained by something like 160 yards or something like that in the first half. They were 1 for 7 on third down, squeezed 3 points out of 5 possessions. It was ugly in the first half. And so as much weight as we're obviously going to put on that snap that occurred with 27 seconds remaining in the football game, if you get off to a little better start in the first quarter, it's a different ball game. Both of those things can be true. And so you've just got to sift through that. I'll say the other thing, Grote, that as I walk out of here tonight, this team has proven itself with its ability to respond. And you would expect nothing less as they go forward into week 15 now, understanding what just happened to them here on this field and what they need to do going forward. And so you'd expect a good response. Ben did echo that after the game. But yeah, offensively, that start wasn't good enough.
It wasn't
probably, right?
Yeah, it wasn't, and it affected things. And the Bears, by the way, host Cleveland on Sunday, then the Green Bay game. That's a Saturday, December 20th game at 7 p.m. Then at San Fran, host Detroit, and then the season will be over. So there's so much still to be decided. But to your point about the Bears offense, and I'll go back to an old problem that is reoccurring for the Bears, are not as tight as it was earlier in the season. And that's that first drive of the game where they just came out cold. Caleb seemed like, I want to say he was overamped, and maybe I was just sort of projecting on him and feeling that from him, could be because he was high to Luther Burden. The Darnell Wright hold makes life a little bit harder, makes it 3rd and 15, and then Caleb just kind of sails it dangerously down the middle of the field. So that was not a good way to start it, but it's like one of those like old training camp days that we would see from Caleb Williams, where you would see him being just okay and struggling, and then along would come like a crazy great play, like that crazy pass, the 26-yarder in the third quarter to Cole Kmet, where he eludes the pressure, dances to the sideline, and flings it to Kmet. And you're like, holy bleep, that's amazing. Not to mention the little sidearm strike to Olamide Zaccheaus, in which he had to thread a needle. Like, so you saw like good Caleb, bad Caleb all together in this game. You saw the full package, I guess, in terms of the really good stuff, and then there's stuff that still needs to be tightened up, obviously.
We've talked on this podcast and a little bit on the radio about Caleb's ability to become more productive on the extended play stuff. You know he has those gifts in him. He's just got to become more productive with it. Well, there were moments today where he was very productive. The 26-yarder you mentioned to Cole it's a special play. It's a star power play immediately, and you're like, okay, that's what takes this offense and this quarterback to the next level when those things start coming more regularly within games. And the final possession of the game, he hits an extended play completion to Devin Duvernay for, I think it was 24 yards, and that was a ball that was completed 9 seconds after the snap. And so you see a quarterback get outside the pocket, able to buy himself some time, wait for his guy to pop, and then put a heater on him, and you're like, okay, there it is. His 5 longest completions of the day all came after halftime. So you see the way that they came alive in the second half, both with the run and the pass. I will say that probably the most disappointing sequence of the day was after the Packers controlled the ball on their opening drive, 13 plays. CJ Gardner-Johnson takes it away on the 13th play with an interception and gives the Bears great field position inside the Packers 40, and they end up going backwards with the football and punting. And that's a huge missed opportunity in a game like this. I imagine that's a sequence on Monday at Haugh where Ben will say, guys, you're not going to get multiple gifts like this against good opponents. We got ours early, and we basically took it back to the counter and said, we're going to return this. We don't really want it right now. And you didn't get the benefits of it.
And then on the other side, and this is a slight like left turn out of like staying in the linear of what happened in this game, but in that second quarter, the Bears botched kick, whatever the hell was going on there, where it lands, the Cairo Santos kickoff lands shy of the landing zone. It's a botched kick. That they do take advantage of that because
touchdown, right?
The Bo Melton bomb, which brings us to the Bo Melton bomb. My God, the explosive plays given up by this defense, or do you just credit Jordan Love and say that's what Jordan loves. Like, he's a home run ball guy, right?
Well, there's a couple things here with some of the, there's 4 plays in my mind that just stand out in terms of ones defensively that are going to kill him. It's the big chunk play touchdowns, 2 to Christian Watson and the 1 to Bo Melton, and then it's that 3rd and short run late in the game where Josh Jacobs gets free when it looked like
21 yards.
Montez Sweat and Javon Dexter had a crack at him, and maybe Jalen Johnson as well. But to the Melton play, I was really stunned in real time trying to figure out where the coverage malfunction was on that, because it just felt like something was disjointed. We asked Jalen Johnson about it after the game. He gave an answer that I'm going to have to kind of filter through and try to watch back and understand what happened there on who's supposed to attach with who and why Bo Melton ended up running open there. But it's a problem, right, where you give that touchdown away at that point in the game, and it's a big deal. And then I think the Watson, the Watson slant touchdown is rough because, we asked CJ Gardner-Johnson after the game, said, look, like, you guys are sending the house there. And he's like, yeah, somebody's got to get there, right? Like, I'm trying to guard a slant route. They get the ball out quick. It's a really good play call against the pressure we had dialed up. And once Christian Watson's in a foot race with someone, Grote, that to me was like teach tape of the runner's ball that we've been talking about the Bears needing to hit, right? It's out in front of the receiver. He catches it. Now he's just got a moving walkway to the end zone. And good luck catching that guy, because that guy can fly. And CJ Gardner-Johnson couldn't catch him. And the next thing you know, you're like, man, there's another big play that was just hung on a Bears defense.
Do you remember this? And I don't expect you to, but I'll be really impressed and not shocked if you do remember it. There was a game at Soldier Field in which Jerry Rice played for the San Francisco 49ers. And I believe it was Joe Montana who just threw that pass, like a little slant to Jerry Rice at their own 12-yard line, took it to the house.
Off he went.
It was just like Jerry Rice perfected that slant play. And that one, it was, I mean, from their side of things, that was a pretty sick play right there. But I will tell you this. I will tell you, like you said, you don't really know who to blame because Jalen Johnson and Jaquan Brisker are both in the picture. For whatever it's worth, Tom Brady doing the game immediately blamed Jalen Johnson for that play, saying that he should have been, he was attached to another guy, that he drifted off. He should have been in the picture, that particular play, according to Tom Brady, was on Jalen Johnson.
I'll trust Tom Brady more than I'll trust myself to dissect that play. We'll believe what he has to say until someone gives us reason to believe otherwise. But it was a problem, right? And those are the types of moments in games like this. I had a conversation with several guys in the locker room about, independent of result, the value of playing in a game like this today, a high stakes road game, big stage. You get that playoff atmosphere here, the rivalry attached to it. I think there's a value in this, regardless if you win or you lose, to just being in these moments together. And I think the Bears will benefit from having played this game today as they go into, as you laid out just a few minutes ago, a series of these down the stretch of the regular season and hopefully in the playoffs. And so this is good for a team that's on the rise, doesn't have a roster full of guys who are used to these December types of games. It's good to get these experiences and feel what they're like and understand what the margin of error really is inside of these games. This isn't the Giants. This isn't the Saints. You've got to make sure you're on your P's and Q's a lot more than you were against those teams. Otherwise, you walk out of here with a 28-21 loss, and you're playing the what might have been game rather than the pat ourselves on the back for being so competitively gritty, right?
Yeah, and what goes through my head when you say all that is the standard should be a little bit higher for the Bears. The Bears, we should be talking about but what I was also thinking, Dan, was the Bears have been blown out and embarrassed by this franchise in these scenarios so many times. And in this, the Bears had a legitimate chance to win the game. If it's a matter of inches on that final play, the Bears probably go for 2. Right. That seemed to be did Ben confirm that? Was he going to go for 2?
I did not hear in the post-game press conference. He didn't address it at all in the post-game press conference. I don't know if he did in the post-game radio hit that he does right after the game. Haven't had a chance to listen to that yet. I think the consensus up in the press box was, you're going for 2 here. You're Ben Johnson. You've got a chance to really just finish this thing now rather than trying to sneak into overtime and figure out which side the coin lands. So my gut says they go for 2 there, and you try to figure it out from there. But yeah, we won't ever know because they didn't get that opportunity.
Yeah, as a positive experience, you're right. And Grady Jarrett, just listening to him, what he had to say in the locker room to the media at large, mentioned something, said some form of sometimes it's better if you lose because if you win a game like that, then maybe you get a little too high on yourself and you don't see some of the issues that actually exist. And he wasn't specific in everything, but you can kind of consider the explosive plays against the defense and Grady Jarrett that was probably top of his mind when he was telling that to reporters.
Yeah, and now the flip side of that is what Ben Johnson said after the game, which is 9 wins is not going to get you into the NFC playoffs. And so
Yeah.
we've got 9 wins right now. We need more than that, right? And so the Bears are going to have to find additional wins in the final 4 here. We all expect them to win at least one more, and hopefully 2, and then you figure out where things go. So you've still got to earn your way here. As fun and as promising as this season has been, today is the reminder that you've still got to earn your ticket into the football that's played beyond week 18. And the Bears have to get themselves there. And by the way, they're probably going to have to get themselves there, Grote, without Kyler Gordon. Probably one of the most
Yeah.
underrated
Yeah.
storylines of the day is the notification we get right before kickoff that Kyler Gordon aggravated his groin, strained his groin, did something to his groin during pregame warmups. And this is just like, you can feel Chicago's collective, like, grunt of frustration on like what are we doing? Like, why is it every 3 or 4 weeks we're dealing with something new with Kyler Gordon? That's not good news at all, and it's gonna leave the Bears to kind of reshuffle again.
Yeah, that's too bad. And he's just unfortunately as good of a player as he is. Like the health report card in his career has not been very good, and that's bad for him. That's bad for the Bears. That's bad for everybody. So I just hope that he can get to a point where he's eventually playing the majority of the games that are on the schedule. He can play. Other guys too. Jalen Johnson ended up leaving the game. I don't know if that was part of the plan for Jalen Johnson or if he re-aggravated. Did we learn anything about Jalen Johnson?
He talked post game, and he seemed like obviously he was sore and he was still kind of making his way back through whatever he's making his way back through. He didn't seem significantly concerned. I guess
Okay.
we'll keep tabs on that as we get back out there this week. Uh,
Yeah.
for to the Wednesday practice.
Okay, and then lastly, TJ Edwards looked like he looked pretty good out there. Got a free shot at the quarterback. Unfortunately, on that particular play, Love ends up completing the pass for a first down. Made a couple of plays, but it was good to see him out there. I assume that he's probably going to be a little bit sore, but okay, right, Dan?
Yeah, I would think so. And a couple nice run stops in there for TJ today
Yeah.
as well. And you're reminded of just kind of the instincts that he brings to this defense and how valuable those are to have in certain instances. Man, it's this is go time now for the Bears, right? Like it's crunch time here. I know we'll get to a couple 3-word reviews before we get out of here because you can tell how much of a nerve this loss touched with our audience, Grote, because
Yeah.
I think people are sensing like, oh man, like, like we talked about at the start of this, you go from 1 to 7 really quick, and sometimes it's one play that makes the difference between being the top seed in the NFC and being the 7th seed and starting to feel real anxious, and so yeah, I think the Bears got to be ready for the sort of the work that is required to find their way across the finish line of this regular season in a way that gets them into the second season, the
Yeah,
playoffs.
I mean, you just can't trip against Cleveland on Sunday, and their defense is to be respected. I get it, but you
And
cannot.
Shador played his ass off today too.
Yeah, he did. So that's going to be a fun story coming into Soldier Field, but you cannot lose that game. And then I'm already thinking about it that game, if things are like in line for a potential, it's going to be big against Green Bay. It's a night game. It's a Saturday night
Saturday,
in
right?
Chicago at Soldier Field. It's flipping on, man. You know what I mean? Like
I
this
do.
loss sucked, but there's more to go, dude. There are going to be 2 hot contests that like it's going to be jacked up for Cleveland, trust me, on Sunday. But that Green Bay game, man, back-to-back
Yeah.
jackups at
I mean,
Soldier Field, man.
we don't typically get 2 meaningful Bears Packers games in like a 5-year span, and now we're going to get 2 within 14 days of each other, and so that's pretty cool to be able to run this back as quickly as they will. And again, the Bears showed, particularly in the second half, that they're every bit as good as that football team, and they can hang and they can find answers. And now it's going to be another chess match a couple weeks from now at Soldier Field, and yeah, you're just going to have to find a way to make one more play, and we've listed about 7 or 8 that the Bears could have been on a better side of, and it may have made a difference in the result today, obviously culminating with that end zone interception, which I'm telling you, when you go back and you see this from the overhead all 22 view,
Yeah.
and you see how early Cole pops and how late Caleb is. And again, late is the
Oh,
difference, right? It's fractions of a
yeah.
second, but it's there. It's there. And you throw that ball out there, we may be having a whole different week, a whole different podcast episode, a whole different storyline for these Bears. As it stands, they're going to have to climb that ladder again to try to get back up to the top of the NFC North.
Oh, I remember what I wanted to tell you too, because you brought up the fact that Theo Benedette it was an option on the Colston Loveland touchdown, right? So,
Yeah.
did you know that Wiener Circle was going to be giving out free hot dogs if a defensive lineman or offensive lineman was engaged in a trick play? So you knew that. I don't know if our audience knew
Yeah,
about that, but that's
I
hilarious.
did see that on Twitter this morning. That was the one box that hadn't been checked yet. I think it was either an offensive lineman or a defensive player of any kind
Yeah.
scored a touchdown on offense.
Yeah.
And so actually, Kevin Fishman and I, as we were driving here this morning, we're talking about one of the rights scoring today, either Darnell or Nashawn getting in the end zone.
Oh, I like
We
that.
were waiting for that tonight, and it didn't quite happen. But the Wiener Circles, they're getting their juice out of this.
They really are. Other places got to be like, come on, man. What about the rest of us? Shout out to every Chicago hot dog stand in the city. Dan, will you please dazzle us with some 3-word reviews?
I will, because our audience dazzles us with these all the time. I'm
Yeah,
going to
they do.
start with prominent audience member Mark Potash. You know Mark.
Love Potsy. He
He
doesn't
gives
love
us
me anymore, though. I don't know why. Take
he
shots at
gives
me all
us
the time.
he gives us first of 3 question mark, which I like where his head's at. He wants this to be run back not only on December 20th at Soldier Field. He wants this to be run back in the postseason. So he's thinking that we're going to have Bears, Packers 1, 2, and 3 this season.
Oh,
Joel Brownold hits us with "Showed we belong." I agree with that. I think the Bears did show that they belong, and that's a good thing for this football team. Tyler Johnson throws out "good, better, bested." I like that, a little twist on.
Okay, Tyler Johnston. Take
Wayne
it
Whitlock
easy.
offers "first halves matter." They sure do. This was an ugly first half today, and it was not pleasant. B. Quinn, overachieving was fun. Okay, that's a little more pessimistic view on this whole thing, but I get where he's coming from,
Yeah,
right? Like
that's all right.
Bears
Hey,
were a little bit better than everyone expected.
I'm not knocking you off your platform, you know.
This was a little bit more prominent than I expected it to be. Run the ball. I think some people are frustrated that the Bears threw the pass on 4th down. I have 0 problems with what Ben Johnson did there, Grote, because you got multiple options in terms of the route runners, and then you've got an option for Caleb to use his legs as a runner on that play. I didn't hate that at all. There's other people that strongly disagree with that sentiment. What's your thought on that as I dig up a couple more?
I think that Caleb is gonna, when given the possibility, he's gonna want to go for the 6 points. When you're on the road, I am down with being a little bit more aggressive, but it does hurt. It does hurt knowing that all you did need there was the 1 yard, and obviously you would have had to have worked fast. You would have had to have come up with a really good play still to get 6 on the board. But I think in that spot, man, I might have played a little more conservative.
All right, let's try to find you 3 more. Ricky Dorsey offers up no magic tonight. There was no magic tonight. They were
No
trying.
magic.
Mike Nunez looks a little bit deeper into the future and says 3 home games. He's counting down the finish to the regular season and realizing that the Bears are going to have to play 3 of the last 4 at home. Only road game is in San Francisco. That should be favorable for a Bears team that's been pretty good at home most of the year. And the very last one, I like this one from Rob G. He gives make the tackle, and that's that play that we talked about earlier on the 3rd down and short. If the Bears hold the Packers to a field goal there, it's a whole different scenario on the final drive. And so that's a tough one there, and it's a tough way to lose this football game here. But listen, like I've walked out of this stadium many times over the years feeling like, man, this Bears team is in trouble. I don't have that feeling at all leaving here tonight. It's a tough loss, but I think the Bears are going to be just fine as they get themselves back up on their feet on Monday and Tuesday and into Wednesday as they prepare for Cleveland.
Yeah, and I'll just add, look, when they were down 14-3, that you had every reason as a Bears fan to be like, well, here we go. The blowout's coming. The music's going to be pumped up. They're all going to be celebrating at Lambeau. You're going to feel terrible about yourself. And then they did the thing where they're like, this is different. So I will cling to that as well. The Bears do lose to the Packers 28-21, and that is going to do it for today. For Dan Wiederer in Green Bay at Lambeau Field. Are you going home tonight, Dan? What's the
On
plan?
the way to Sheboygan. We're headed to Sheboygan.
Okay, on your way to Sheboygan. It's always something. Everybody's got a strategy. You do the halfway mark or whatever mark makes you feel good and comfortable. We think that's a good idea for Dan Wiederer of The Athletic. For our executive producer, Adam Studzinski, I am Mark Grote of The Score saying thank you so much for listening to and watching the Take the North podcast.
Great talk. See you out there.